Hi dear mates, welcome to Vicky Signature. If this is the first time you are seeing this channel, thanks for stopping by, and to my returning subscribers, thanks for always sticking to this channel. So in today's tutorial, I'll be looking at how to draft a double-breasted female blazer. So if this sounds like what you are really interested in learning, please stay tuned as we are about to start. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe, like, and drop a comment for me to see. So let's get right into the video. So firstly, for us to do that, we have to start from the scratch, which is the drafting. So this is our pattern paper, our tools, our tape, and then our marker. So firstly, we're going to be starting with the back pattern. So for us to do that, I'll just go to the upper bodice there. I'll rule a margin of ½ inch, just small for the back. I'll rule a margin of ½ inch, just as you can see me. I'm marking it so that when I'm done marking it, I'll take the straight rule and rule it together. That's what you can see right now. So this is what we have after ruling our margin. So next thing for us now is for us to cut out the back pattern from it so that will not be disturbed by the whole paper. So what we are going to do is we are going to divide our hip measurement by 4, then we'll add like 1 inch. So I'll be making use of hip 40, divided by 4 is 10, then plus 1 inches, we'll be having like 11 inches. So I'll go ahead to mark 11 inches. That is what I'm trying to do. So I'll mark 11 inches from the up of the paper down to the length of our dress. So stick with me as I do that. So that is why I said it's good for us to cut out the back first, then will not be disturbed by the bigness of the paper. You get? So that is the 11 inches that I'm marking. So if your hip is 36, you can go ahead to do that and then add 1 and mark yours. So after that, I'll just go ahead to rule the line straight and cut it out. So guys, fast forward to this place. I'm gonna ahead to cut it out and then we can just properly work with it. So this is now our back pattern, just as I've labeled now. So we'll be starting with our basic bodice. So for us to do that, we are going to be doing all our vertical measurements, that is to say from our shoulder to bust point to under bust to the waist down to the length of the blazer. So I just mark the shoulder to bust point, which is 10 inches, the shoulder to waist, under bust, and then shoulder to hip is 25 inches that I am working with, and then down to the length of the blazer is going to be 41 inches. So after doing that, I'll go to the other side of the paper and then mark exact same thing. You get? I'll mark exact same thing on the other side of the paper. So that is what I'm trying to do. Then after marking exact same thing on this other part, next is for us to use our straight rule and connect all the points together. Now after connecting, we just go ahead to label. This is the bust point, the under bust, this is the waistline, the hip line, and then here is going to serve as the length of the blazer, which is L. I believe we all understood down to this point. Now we are going to be putting our shoulder measurement in order for us to do our armhole. So we are going to divide our shoulder by 2 and put it there. That is what I'm just doing, which is 15 divided by 2. I have 7.5. On that point, I'll come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slope. So after that 1 inch, I'll take my tape from that 1 inch and then divide my bust by 6 and add 1.5, which is our basic armhole measurement. So if you don't know how to do that, I have a tutorial for calculating or for drafting a basic body. They are all on my channel. You can go and watch it, but I'm still teaching it here. So after doing that, you have to put what you got from your calculation there. So I think I have 7.5. So that is what I just put there. Then that line that I'm drawing now is going to serve as our chest line. This is now going to serve as our chest line. You get? So next thing for us to do is to mark that same shoulder measurement we did from the upper part, just to cross check it very well. So that is what you are seeing there. So after marking it, I'll take the straight rule to connect the point together in order for us to have a very straight part. Then after After marking that, I'll come to mark the neckline. The neckline I'll be using is 3 inches by 1 inches. This is a blazer. We don't have to extract or add anything, just a basic neckline. So this is 3 inches by 1. That is to say the length is 1 inch, and then the width, the wideness is going to be 3 inches. So after that, I'll just go ahead to connect it. Then I'll connect from the neckline down to our shoulder slope that we came down by 1 inch. I believe we all understood down to this point. So what is left on that armhole, we are going to be dividing it by 2. Just look at the way I'll be using the tape to divide it by 2. So it's not all the time you use your calculator. So after dividing it by 2, that is a midpoint. Then I'll go in just small. Some people may not go in again, but I'll just go in very small because this is a blazer. You don't need that curvy part. You get, it's like suits now. You get. So after that, I'll put my bust measurement on the chest line. The bust I'm working with, I think, is 37 inches. When I divided that, I have 9.25. So after putting the bust measurement, we'll take our curve and then we'll do our regular curve together. So this is just like our basic bodice. Then we are done with the armhole now. So next thing for us to do is we are going to be moving to the waist. On that waist, I'll go in by 1/2 inch. You get. So after going in by that 1/2 inch, I'll connect it to the upper part and then to the down part. So why we are doing this is for us, it's for it to contour the back so that the back will be well relaxed. You know, there's not going to be a zip there. So we are doing that so that when we are done sewing, the back will be well relaxed. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. Now after doing that, that line is now going to serve as our new line. That's where we'll be marking our measurement from. So on that waistline, I'll put my waist measurement of 30 inches, which is, I think, 7.5. So after putting the 7.5, I'll add 1 inch for that intake. That is the 1 inch that I am adding. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So after doing that, I'll just connect it to my bust point. So I'll be marking the bust point now from the new line we just drew. I'll be marking the bust measurement from the new line we just drew. You know, it just added to the actual measurement we did. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'll connect from the waist down to the bust point, which is a chest line there. Then from that part, I'll move to the hip and put the hip measurement. Hip I'm working with is hip 40. When you divide 40 by 4, you have 10 inches. So I'll go ahead to put my 10 inches there. Then take our curve to connect it together. Yeah. I'm just taking it slowly so that we all can get what I'm trying to do here. So after connecting it, on the length of the blazer is anything I have on the hip. That's what I'll be putting there. So what we have on the hip was 40. When we divided it by 2 is 10 inches. When we divided it by 4, sorry, it was 10 inches. So we're just going to connect from that part down to the hip with a straight line. Yes, it's a straight line. So that is all for that part. Now we are going to be putting our darts properly. So on the dart, we are going to be using our nipple to nipple. So the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 8 inches. When you divide it by 2, you have 4 inches. So I'll mark 4 inches from that our initial line. I'll mark it, go to the chest line and the bust point. I'll also mark it. Then down to the hip, I'll also mark it. We are just trying to form a straight line there. Then down to the length of the blazer, I will mark it. Then I'll connect all the lines with a straight line. And then on the part where we did our armhole divide by 2, I will also mark it. So we're just going to connect from that bust point down to that side with a curve in order for us to have that princess style line. We are not going to contour anything here because this is a bag. The bag doesn't have breasts that are contouring anything, so we are just connecting it to have that style line. So on the waist, we'll just go out by half inches on both sides. Then we'll connect it down to the bust point there, which you are seeing. So this is just our basic or our regular waist that I'm doing. Then after that, I'll connect it again towards the hip. It won't reach there again, but I'll first of all do the straight line, and then for the dart legs I'll make sure it doesn't reach again like that, but maybe like 2 inches before the hip line. I believe you can see what I'm trying to do. Then from that part I'll just rule the straight line down to the length of the pants, which we just marked, so we can be able to have a straight cut when we are trying to cut it. So I believe this is all for the back pattern. If you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. So this is all for the back pattern. So let's go ahead to cut it off. You see the way I'm cutting it, right? This is how you cut it, and cut very well so that all your measurements will be very accurate. And you see the way I cut the dart part, right? So let's go ahead to label our pattern. So this is a center back, and then this is going to be the side back, but I went and write center back again. So I believe you watching this now, you understand what I'm trying to say. So this is supposed to be SB, not CB. So that is all for the back. Let's go to the front, where our main concern is. So guys, this is a front pattern. We are going to be rolling a margin of 5 inches downward for the front. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. So I'll be coming down with 5 inches. Can you see what I'm trying to do? I'll mark 5 inches on all the parts that I have here. Then I'll use the straight rule to connect it together. This is going to serve as the imaginary line for the front. So after doing that, then on the side front, I will be using another margin. I'll be drawing another imaginary line, but in this case it's going to be 4 inches. So why we are doing this 4 inches is for our button. I didn't mean we are not going to be putting that bold button to lap each other. We are just going to use like 1 inches. So that is why we are using this big 4 inches at that part. So now this is just our new line. This is our shoulder line now, and then this part is just going to be our starting point. So we can actually start from here. We're not starting from the top of the pattern again. So what I'll be doing is for us to mark our regular vertical measurements, the shoulder to bust point, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip, and shoulder down to the length of the blazer. Exactly what I did for the back, in order for us not to waste time. So I'm just like, I fasten this part so that we can continue properly. So after that is for us to now mark out the chest line and continue with the armhole curve and everything. So it's just basically what we did for the back. I believe you can understand what I'm trying to say. So this is our chest line, our bust points. I'm just marking it, I'm labeling it again. Our under bust, this is going to be our waistline, our hip line, and then this is the down part is going to be the length of the blazer. So I believe we all understood down to this point. So first thing now, we are just going to put our shoulder measurement, which is 7.5, connect it, and then come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Take the midpoint, and then this is just our basic bodice we did for the back. I don't want to be repeating so that it won't take much of our time and then data. So after doing the armhole on the waistline, we are going to be putting our waist measurement and then plus 1 inches, just as we did for the back. Always remember. Then we are just going to connect it down to the bust point. So after connecting it down to the bust point, we'll go to the hip line and then put our hip measurement of 40 inches. So when you divide 40 inches by 4, you have 10 inches. Then we'll put our 10 inches here and connect. Then anything we'll have on the hip, that is what we'll bring to the length of the blazer. Then we are just going to connect it together, just as you can see me doing. So from the hip down to the length of the blazer is going to be a straight part, you get. Then from the waist down to the hip is just going to have a curve because the part is not straight. Yes, that part is not straight, so that is why we are connecting it that way. Now next thing that we are going to do is for us to work with the waist. That is, we are going to be inserting our dart. So the dart measurement we are using is 4 inches, which is our nipple to nipple divided by 2 inches. So I'm just trying to get a straight part in order for us to properly do our dart. So I'm just connecting the line straight. So now On that waistline, I'll be going out by 1 inch on the both side. Then after going out by 1 inch on the both side, I'll go ahead to draw our regular dart leg from the chest line, from the bust point down to the waist, and then from the waist down to towards the hip area. So on that armhole curve, in this part now, we are going to contour the front. So on that armhole where we did our half, we are just going to go up by what? Half inch. We are just going to go up by half inch. Just this is a princess, and this is a princess that we are doing now. We'll go up by half inch, then come down by half inch. So after doing that, we pick our curve to connect it curvely to meet each of the half inch we came down by. We came down by half inch, and then we went up by a half inch. So that is what I'm connecting right now. So after connecting it like this, I'm just trying to blend it on this down part. You know that after removing this 1 inch that we did like this, which is half, it is going to shorten the measurement. So we'll go ahead to add 1 inch on the down part, then we'll redraw the armhole again. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So after redrawing the armhole, I think that is it for that. Then on that down of the blazer, that is the length of the blazer, I'll put that same 4 inches and then connect it with a straight line to meet the one of the hip, so that we can have a straight part, so that when we are cutting, we know where to cut and put. So that is all for the bodies of the blazer. Now we are going to start with the neckline. So the neckline for the front is going to be what? 3 by 3 inches. This is just our basic neckline. So after marking the 3 by 3 inches, we are just going to connect the line together like so, and then take our straight rule to connect it from the neckline of the front down to the shoulder slope we just came down by. So after doing that, now this is where the main work starts. Let's breathe in. Okay, so now we are just going to determine where we'll be putting our lapel, like where we want the opening to start from. So for this tutorial, I'll be making use of the under bust. That is where I want it to start from. That was why you see that I extended that line outside the bust we just did. So now what we'll be doing is on that front neckline will be coming out by 3 inches. You can go as 2 inches or 2.5, but this tutorial I'll be making use of 3 inches. After going out by 3 inches, you just connect it straight together like this. Then from that 3 inches, you are just going to connect it to meet that 4 inches we came out by on that bust line. So that part is now going to serve as the bottom covering, you get. So we'll connect from that 3 inches we came out from that neckline to meet that 4 inches on the under bust. I believe you understand what I just did. So now after doing that, we are just going to bring our back pattern to measure the neckline curvely. We know we use 3 by 1, but then we are just going to measure it so that the back and the front tallies very well. So after measuring it, we have 3.5. So let's keep it, and then we note that we have 3.5 on that part where I'm pointing. We'll be marking the 3.5 upward in a slanty way, not in a straight way, just as I'm showing. So look at the way I'm using the pen to do it. We are not going to do it that way. We are going to do it in a slanty way, you get. So from that shoulder now, we are going to rule a straight line, like we are going to rule a slanty line, and then go up by that 3.5 inches we just mark from the back. So that is what I just did. From that part, we are still going to go in a slanted direction again. Can you see my hand? We are going to go in that slanted direction again. We can go as far as 3 inches or 4 inches. So we are just going to stick to that 3.5 inches we did for the going up just now. So we are just going to stick with that same 3.5. That is to say, I came up 3.5 slantly, and then I'm going out like this slantly with that same 3.5. So now this is now going to be our collar. So now on that neckline for the front, where we came out by 3 inches, we just come up by half of an inch. That is going to be for the notched collar, you get. That is going to be for the notched collar. After going up by half of an inch, you just connect it to enter that line, to enter that neckline. Can you see what I'm doing? So you're just going to connect from that 1/2 inch so that it enters the neckline like so. I believe you understand. So that is a notched collar that they are talking about. Then from that part, we just connect it just as you can see my hand doing. So some people can connect there straight, some just in a little curvy way. So anyone that you like, you can do it. So this is your collar. So me, I'll be making use of a little curve. So I'll just go ahead to connect it like so, just as you can see me doing like this. Now after connecting it, that is all for the front drafting. That is all for the front drafting. Now look at the way I'm curving it. I'm just curving it so that you all can see how it is, so that when we are done sewing, the shape will come out properly. So this part that I'm marking now is just going to be for our button allowance, so we are not going to cut that part off again. It is that part that will lap each other. When you wear the clothes, that part will go inside, then the other one will cover it properly. So that is how it is. So let me show you something. From that part that we did our lapel, from that our underbust, we are just going to measure it down to that neckline and see. But then we are just going to rule a straight line from that underbust to that neckline. I'll use my pen so that it will not be very clear, but just watch what I'm doing. Can you see the way I'm folding it, right? So that when you wear your clothes, that is how it's going to be folded. After cutting out that excess, you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is all. That is basically all for the front drafting, and then that is all for both the front and the back. So next thing is for us to go ahead to use our scissors and then cut out the pattern properly. So watch the way I am cutting it. It may be fast, but watch. You see that I'll cut it in a way that it is all cut neatly, and then it doesn't affect any of the pattern we drafted. So can you see what I'm trying to say? So that is all for the front cutting. So now this is going to be our fabric we'll be making. So this is the lining. I think the lining is like 2.5 inches, and then the fabric is 3 inches. I'm making use of a crepe fabric. So this is the fabric that I'm talking about. It is crepe fabric. I bought it around 2.5 or 2 something. So we are just going to place the pattern on all the piece on the this. We are going to place all the piece on the fabric and cut it. So guys, this is what we have after cutting. There is no way I can show the process of cutting because you know that it's very long. We all know how to cut cloth on a pattern. So what I did was just to add 1/2 inch on the normal side, and then the basic side I added 1.5 inches for joining. But the normal side where we'll be joining our dart and the rest, I added 1/2 inch, and then the length of the blazer I added 2 inches. Then while cutting the lining, I make sure it is shortened by that 2 inches, so that when we are done, it is going to fold inside properly. So this is me just trying to explain the half inch I added. You discover that it is only the side front and side back that I added 1.5 by the side, which is going to be for sewing allowance. But the rest part, it is what half inches that we added. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So this is the center. Sorry. You believe this is a center front, right? This is a center front. You discover the way I cut the lining, but I make sure that I use a crepe to cut the lining for that chest part, so that towards the waist area I then use a normal lining, so that when we wear our clothes and then turn it, like we do that our lapel something and turn it, it is still going to be that crepe that is going to show. So you can't use lining all through that part. When you use lining through that part, when you are done sewing, you discover that it is your lining that is showing at that front part. So that was why I use crepe as the lining at that front part. I believe you understand down to this point. So in our next tutorial, I'll be starting with the sewing tutorial. So thanks for watching, and see you in my next one. Bye.